Hey, everybody. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me all right.
Hey, can you hear me this time?
I got you. Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right.
The problem is that if I'm doing like a recorded, uh,
Mhm,
conversation or podcast or something like that, this works. Plug
mhm.
directly in my phone. But for some reason, and I love this mic, by the way, I don't even know what it is, but Zeal Sound, whatever that is. But not sponsored. Um, But if I'm on Instagram, it mutes the output sound for some reason.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
my iPhone is detecting like it's hooked into instead of a speaker or a microphone, a speaker. So anyway,
That's how it
nope.
worked when I was trying to do one last time and I had a clip on, and yeah, it was not working. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, Dylan Blaha, Captain Dylan Blaha of Illinois District
13.
13. Thanks for the reminder. I've got so many mutuals online and candidates that I've been speaking to that I'm getting the district numbers
Yeah.
kind of all confused. But yeah, actually, I just got off the phone with a friend of mine, a veteran like yourself.
Mhm.
He's not active duty like yourself, but he's a veteran. Kyle uh, Gawk. Uh,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know.
Connecticut, really,
Mhm.
really great guy too. He's running in Connecticut's district too. So he's actually finishing up his master's right now, and he was going to kind of surprise cameo join us, but he
Mhm.
got class last second. So
Ah.
anyway, we'll schedule another time where all of us can get together and see if we can kind of build a coalition of
Mhm.
normal everyday Americans trying to be the definition of representatives. Because even though you're running as a Democrat, I'm running as an independent. Kyle's running as a Democrat, and there's a handful of other candidates out there. The one thing that I'm not surprised by, but I've been finding it kind of funny, is people that I even considered on a personal level friends
Mhm.
that are running as Dems cannot publicly give their endorsement of me because I'm
Wow.
running as an independent, even though I share their same ideologies and principles. So
Mhm.
that's one of the things that my campaign, I do have a benefit in the fact that I can endorse Captain Dylan Blaha for Illinois. And if there is somewhere out there a traditional Republican that actually believes in small government, that actually believes in freedom of speech, that actually believes in constitutional protected rights, that actually
Mhm.
believes in um,
The small government that they used to
yeah,
preach. Yeah.
yeah, not
Hmm.
this
Yeah.
complete opposite of what MAGA is, like
Yeah.
being fiscally conservative. When we're seeing, there was just a report I read today that showed that all the grocery prices are up across the board
Hmm. No, exactly.
because of tariffs. Um, so if there is actually a Republican out there that does believe in those things and doesn't just say they do, but actually, is about it instead of just talking about it, I'd be happy to consider endorsing them,
Hmm.
um, as long as they don't believe in the persecution of others, like the LGBTQIA, as long as they don't believe in uh, big government, even though they argue that, like, well, these are states' rights issues, on women's rights and stuff. So it's not really big government. Big government does not just mean the federal government. It means any
Hmm.
kind of overreach of government from the local level to the state to the federal level, where you are going out of your way to control the masses.
Hmm.
So don't preach to me that you're against big government, and then and especially for the two-way MAGA Republicans out there that are like all their entire life saying screw the ATF, we need to abolish the ATF, and now they're just cheering them as they see them on the streets targeting brown people. So
Yeah. I think, unfortunately, I think a lot of where we're at right now is, you know, education's been on the downturn in America for a while, and we've all been overly propagandized. And so it's not that people are stupid. I think they're angry because we're all economically struggling.
right.
And they want somebody to blame for it. And instead of blaming the billionaires, instead of blaming the corporations that avoid paying taxes with all these different tax loopholes, they blame immigrants, they blame trans people,
Right.
and so I do think it is like, we need to give them the right people to blame, because a lot of people are struggling right now and they should be frustrated, but it is the system that, and I think that anyone that's running that doesn't acknowledge that, like,
Right.
there are
It is
systemic problems.
absolutely by design.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
uh, there are things that like my friend online. It's like Ken Sconson. I can't remember his name. He's a veteran too. He's a creator, and he talks about this whole thing that's trending right now, the Purple Revolution, and why he's
Hmm.
skeptical about it. Understandably, the Purple Revolution has been started by people that have left MAGA,
Hmm.
that are identifying and waking up to the problem of it's not so much left versus right, it's up versus down. But his skepticism is rooted in the fact of, well,
Yeah.
there's some things that aren't just disagreements on a ideological line. Like if you are claiming your faith mandates you to persecute other people, like trans, like the LGBTQIA, to be
Hmm.
redundant on the T, then you're weaponizing your faith, not living by it, just to
Hmm.
persecute others. And there's some things that are not, and I agree with him on this. There are some things that are not just simple disagreements. There is a standard, and there should be made a standard throughout our country entirely of moralistically right versus wrong, more so than just simple disagreements. Now, there can be disagreements on policy as far as the economy or things like Trump's tariffs
Hmm.
or his overreach in federalizing National Guard and things of these nature. Those are disagreements.
Hmm.
I would hope, and I believe the polls back me on this, the majority of Americans are against that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure there's a lot of MAGA loyalists, Trump loyalists that are still on the side of cheering it on because they've been so over inundated with fear mongering of a targeted enemy that has just been thrust into their faces, like immigrants, like the
Hmm.
LGBTQIA. They're not enemies. You and I know that.
Yeah.
It's they're patsies to
Hmm.
deflect from the true enemies of our country, the wealthy elites that are uh, unethical, immoral, and doing things to absolutely keep this by design system of
Hmm.
impoverishing everybody, so that people are commenting left and right. I want to get on the streets, I want to protest, but I can't afford it. I just can't afford it.
Yeah.
I can't afford to miss a single day of work.
Hmm.
And that is by design. They want the wages kept down. They want the hours overworked. They want the prices to go up so that the people just are having a hard time
Hmm.
being able to get out and protest and do these things. And I love seeing people like Kat Abigazi
Hmm.
use her voice.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
I wish I could afford to get out there and do that,
Hmm.
but I don't have $3 million in donations. And no,
Hmm.
no hate towards Kat. I love the fact that she's doing it and she's using her privilege
Hmm.
very, very well. And to have an overabundance of donations and donors and things like that does allow you to have privilege to be able to use your time appropriately and go out and
Hmm.
protest things of that nature. Um, but let's not kid ourselves either. Uh, uh, when I say, or when you say, I will not accept foreign funded organizations like APAC contributions. I
Hmm.
will not accept super PAC or
Hmm.
corporate dark money donations. I think we really need to call a spade and say that, hey, guess what? The DNC is a super PAC. The RNC is a super PAC.
Yeah.
Anyone taking, like, excluding all those other,
Hmm.
unethical donations and then taking in hundreds of thousands of dollars from the DNC, you're not really going with your whole entire philosophy there. If you're saying,
Hmm.
well, I'm not for super PACs, but yeah, I welcome all the DNC help to get me on MSNBC every other night
Yeah.
at this station.
No,
So
exactly. Hmm.
let's not kid ourselves on the
Hmm.
overreach of the entire political system and the duopoly and the power that comes with that.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said again, Kat Abagazi is doing a wonderful amount of work with her privilege. I
Hmm.
just wish our nation, and I think that's one of the things that you and I are trying to get into office to change the status quo, can make
Hmm.
it so that everyday Americans also are afforded that same privilege.
Yeah,
And
and I
it's
think.
not just those that are able to amass
Mhm.
$3 million in the campaign coffer,
Yeah.
you know?
No, and that's the difficulty. So me and some other pro-Palestine candidates from Illinois met with Graham Plattner today, and he likes to say that everything is interconnected, right? Like, um, America's military imperialism abroad, and the the poverty draft, all of that. I mean,
Right.
I, joined the military to pay for college, and I stayed because, I liked the sense of public service and everything like that. But, I was originally, all right, this is the only way I could pay for school. And, but no, exactly. Like, it's hard because we're trying to break down the system, but you still have to win. You have to beat them at their own game,
Right.
and that's where it's hard, like you said. I mean, because it's like, where do you draw your line? Because if you accept money from Planned Parenthood, who are all their donors? I mean, there is kind of a line that everyone draws.
There
um
really needs to be not just the campaign reform on the side of stock buys and all of that, which goes without saying.
mhm,
The profit revolving door once you're already in office, but there really needs to be
yeah.
campaign reform on the campaigns themselves. And a
Mhm,
full transparency act of disclosure of
mhm,
exactly traceable where all the funds are coming from. I mean, it's my same philosophical debate on crypto. Why I've never
yeah.
once traded or purchased any crypto in my entire life because it was a good moneymaker for a lot of people, but for myself, hey, Boomer, get out of there, Boomer. For myself, it goes against my principles because
Mhm,
there is so little regulation and transparency on it that
yeah.
um, a lot of people only see the narrow-sided uh, side of crypto and just what they're able to benefit off of. But a lot of people kind of forget the fact of pretty much every terror cell around the world is funded by crypto because of a lack of regulation and things of that nature.
Mhm,
I can't tie myself to something like that. And the same thing goes towards these I support Planned Parenthood,
yeah, exactly.
but where are some of their funds coming from as well? Because there is an interconnected web
Mhm,
that there is not enough transparency, and disclosure on. I'd be
mhm,
thrilled if Planned Parenthood would donate to me if it came
mhm,
directly from Planned Parenthood and not, you know, cycled through four other
mhm,
sources, something of that nature. So there definitely needs to be more of a full, total disclosure.
mhm.
I mean, it's gotten so bad that organizations like TPUSA can essentially launder money from
Yep.
Hungary or from Russia and then go out and pay all these micro influencers to read out scripts and things of that nature. But how is that micro influencer that's repeating that message? Are they being paid by TPUSA or are they in fact being paid by Hungary or
Yeah.
by Russia?
And it's not just the Republicans, because I don't know. Did you see the news that with the Democrats, they were paying influencers like 8 grand a month to
That
kind
that
of,
that that chorus thing.
yeah, because it was like more essentially people who were gonna give pro-Israel talking points. Yeah, so I mean that's.
Well, I
Mhm.
actually know quite a few of those people, and
Oh,
and
really?
the one thing I'm not part of it,
Hmm.
but I do know I am connected online, parasocial relationships. The one
Hmm.
thing
Yeah.
that I could refute about that whole thing because influencers are being paid left and right, whether it's to promote
Yeah.
a shampoo or sell a
Mhm.
sock or to spit out talking points or to do paid collaborations on messaging, things of this nature. And there is dramatically a double standard on going after those chorus people when everyone is silent about people like that older millennial guy who's reading TPUS
Mhm.
scripts or
Tim
the
Pool getting money from
MAGA
Russia.
sassy people or any of those people. And
Mhm.
they are all reading the same damn scripts and they're all paid to do it. Um,
Hey, I see we have one question in here. I don't know if you
yeah,
wanted to
I saw it.
answer
I'm going to get to it in a
the one
second.
on Stephen Miller. Yeah.
I will say this: the chorus people, I have not seen any evidence that any of that
Mhm.
is has to be in line with pro-Israel talking points. From my first-hand account, I haven't seen any of that. Um, I just haven't seen it. I'm sure that there's
Yeah.
individual people within that might have their own arrangements. I don't know. I can't speak to that honestly. But as far as the group of people I do know personally, I haven't seen anything that has been outlined out of like must be pro-Israel. But
Yeah.
I sure am enjoying Candace Owens doing her deep dive on releasing text messages from
From
Charlie
Charlie Kirk.
Kirk
Yeah.
about wanting to walk away from the pro-Israel cause. Look, and this is a very nuanced subject because, and why I've always been outspoken against this. I want peace and safety for Israeli citizens. Equally, I want peace and safety for Palestinian citizens. I believe what the government of Israel has been doing has been is a war crime, have been committing multiple war crimes, and is by the definition of genocide. It is not
Mhm.
to defend themselves. It is to annihilate an entire group of people and to take over the land, air, and water and the resources that come with Palestine.
Yeah.
And yeah, at the same time, I can say that what the news, especially in our hemisphere of the world, does not show is that there are almost daily hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of Israelis that are protesting
Mhm.
Netanyahu and the Zionist National Party and what they're doing. And the problem on our side of the thing is that Netanyahu has been working overtime to say anyone that speaks out against him or his political party is anti-Semitic. And you and I know that
Mhm.
that's simply not true at all. But
Yeah.
the problem on our side of things is that the white supremacists and the actual anti-Semites are seizing on this moment to try to. I tell you what, any single time I see someone denounce the Israeli government, I leave that
Mm.
comment on my page. Anytime I see someone specifically use the word Jew, I delete that.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
delete that comment
Yeah.
because they're jumping on this bandwagon and trying to. It's no different than Israel saying that all Palestinians are Hamas, saying that all Israelis are Zionists. There's no difference there. So
Mhm.
it is a very sticky subject, but
No, and that's where
either
I
way,
think.
APAC still needs to get the hell out of our politics.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
Period. There's
Yeah.
no reason why any foreign funded organization is involved in our active governance and by pay. I mean, they can lobby, just like other
Mhm.
allied nations for policies and things like that, but they shouldn't be able to pay our incumbent politicians to
Yeah.
get things done. They shouldn't be able to fund campaigns to elect or
Mhm.
fire representatives and candidates. So, you and I have talked about this before, and I said before, just because even if they're a U.S. home-based organization like the
Mhm.
NRA, who has been proven to be accepting funds from Hungary and funds from Russia, um, I don't care if they're a home-based, home-started organization. If they're accepting foreign funds, they
That's
need to
fun.
be banned from politics completely.
No, exactly. And I think I put out some pretty, strong statements on Israel Palestine at times. I think a big thing for everyone to kind of take a look at is the recent history in the last 100 years of settler colonialism and just say, hey, like we need to push for a ceasefire. We need to push for a peaceful solution, and a lot of and so things like a two-state solution, that's offensive to a lot of Palestinians. I mean, where they just say, hey, one state with democracy for all, equality for all.
Who
Um,
Palestinians are calling for one state?
yeah, yeah, that's actually that, but that's
I
kind of a
That's the
more
first.
recent thing that I've seen, and
Yeah,
part of
that's
it.
the first I'm hearing
Hmm.
of it. I've just been
Hmm.
hearing Palestinians wanting basic rights of human dignity and human rights of being able
Hmm.
to eat, feed,
Well,
work
yeah.
for their families, provide for their families, which is they're being robbed of right now. But
Hmm.
I will remind. I love to bring this up to the people that are displaying just a heinous level of apathy for the suffering that's going on over there right now,
Hmm.
that are outspoken and self-proclaimed Zionists. Whenever I bring up a two-state solution, the former prime minister of Israel, a
Hmm.
man of devout Jewish faith, Rabin,
Hmm.
um, was active in calling for a two-state solution. And tragically, he was assassinated by someone from the Zionist National Party in the process of he was competing against Netanyahu. Um,
Yeah.
and he was a man of devout Jewish faith, and he was outspoken against the Zionist National Party.
Hmm.
So anyone that self-proclaims to be a Zionist and tells me you're being anti-Semitic, then I say that you're calling the former Prime Minister of Israel, Rabin, who was a man of
Hmm.
devout Jewish faith, anti-Semitic. So make that make sense.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, no matter what, uh, ceasefire, stop sending military aid, those are the kinds of things that, and push for a peaceful solution.
Yeah.
I did, yeah, so I saw a question about Stephen Miller's awkward pause yesterday. Did you see that on
Yeah,
CNN?
I saw that, and I mean, I think I think he said the quiet part out loud. I
Yeah.
mean, that was expected, and
Hmm.
we all know that that's what's being said in the
Hmm.
background. The thing that really pissed me off was the fact that CNN edited it out
Oh, yeah.
when they posted it
Hmm.
publicly.
Yep.
CNN edited that out, and
No, I saw.
you know, if we actually had a non-partisan FCC director, um, which should be that should be a
Hmm.
non. I don't care if you put one Republican and one Democrat and one
Hmm.
independent and have a co-counsel on the FCC. Things like that, and the post office and stuff like that should all be nonpartisan across the board.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the fact that CNN is doing shit like that really pisses me off because it's paramount to a Russian uh, malicious, influence campaign,
Hmm.
trying to manipulate the masses on the facts of the matter. That's not. There's nothing ethical. There's nothing journalistic about that. That's just framing your own little screenplay and tweaking
Hmm.
it the way you want it to come across. So,
Hmm.
as far as Stephen Miller doing that, and someone actually asked on my end too, do you have hope to take back your country? And the answer is yes. I wanted to speak about this really quickly.
Hmm.
Um, there are millions upon millions of men and women. Uh, Captain Blaha, I would presume, I think I'm right in saying this, is one of them. Um, that when the shit hits the fan, if that ultimate of unlawful orders is given and Trump orders ICE or the feds, multiple federal agencies, or the National Guard, or real military to open fire on the general public, that's going to be the beginning of the end of all this.
Hmm.
And quite
Yeah.
honestly, living in fear of a declaration of martial law or something like that is just giving him more rope to keep on doing his unconstitutional and immoral and inhumane actions. I actually want to see him give that order because I know it will be the beginning of the end of this literal fascist oppressive regime that is completely opposite and antithetical to democracy and to our Constitution. I know it's scary. I know a lot of people are worried, and I'm going to start putting out more and more videos about how you can prepare your house if you can't
Hmm.
afford to, flee to a safe area if that fateful day ever happens. Get your family to a safe area. If you can't afford to, and you can only harden down your location at your home and your community, I'm going to start making posts on DIY things that you can do that cost nothing to be prepared for a worst case scenario. And quite honestly,
Yeah.
it's not about fear mongering or scaring anyone. It's just about getting everyone mentally prepared for a rainy day and having an umbrella handy, even if it never rains. It's always good to planning is always a recipe for a successful mission, whether you have to use it or not. But I know a lot of people are terrified, especially people that don't look like Dylan or myself and that alabaster complexion. Um, Rightfully so, understandably so. I will give that hope that, as I've always said, that, um, and I really hope I'm wrong that this doesn't come to fruition, but it is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Everyone needs to be prepared for how impossible feeling that worst could be,
Yeah.
like out of a movie or something like that. But that is where I believe we are when people like Stephen Miller are making claims like that publicly. Is that they are prepared to do anything that they want because they feel there won't be any repercussions because they the most insecure, smallest men and women to ever live are in this administration. And they actually are arrogant enough to believe that they can control the masses, and they simply can't. They do not have the numbers. They may have some equipment and some weaponry, but I think if that unthinkable, unlawful order is ever given, as I have predicted, there will be actual oath keepers, actual constitutionalists that will split away from the military and uphold their sworn oath, like Captain Blaha, as well as everyone from generals to enlistees in our real military. I have no doubt in that. I know someone just commented, "Why not rise up?" I know that it's excruciating being in this hurry up and wait stage for something to happen. But one of the reasons why our military hasn't split yet is because this administration has been skirting the lines on that unlawful order. Um,
Yeah, and I would say like it's a slow normalization of militarization,
right.
right? And so it starts with a lot of things that are technically legal or borderline legal, and thank you, cute dog.
And then they
I
get
have
contested in court and struck down and
yeah, and
tries to
so
do a workaround.
look at California. You know, they eventually ruled that National Guard deployment was illegal.
Right.
And then the DC one, there's some ambiguity because of the fact that those are federal forces.
And the home rule for that specific area.
Mhm.
Right.
But I mean, just the idea of sending Texas National Guard troops to Portland, to Chicago, I
Or
mean,
even texting out that Pritzker
yeah,
should be arrested and the mayor of
yeah,
Chicago should be arrested. I mean, it's absolutely asinine. Donald Trump has no shame. He's not a constitutionalist. He's not a Christian. He's not a conservative. He has no shame
hmm
in his game, so to speak. And we all know this. And we all know that. I mean, he said openly in regards to burning the American flag as a form of protected free speech, he said openly, "I've gone
yep,
ahead and taken away that freedom of speech."
yep,
So,
1 year.
yeah, which he can't do. Let me remind everyone again. Just because he says something doesn't make it happen, doesn't make it
Mhm.
so. And him and his administration are trying to push that overreaching power of executive order far beyond its capabilities. And by doing it by ways of threatening, bullying, extortion, even illegal extortion of private companies like Google and Google Maps and shit like that. Um, you know, holding back federal funds and everything like this. Listen, I know everybody's
Mhm.
freaked out, but I have extraordinary hope in the fact that once he goes that one level too far, it will be the beginning of the end for this regime. Don't get me wrong; it's going to come at a heavy loss of innocent lives. I hope to
Yeah.
God that never happens. I pray with my heart that that never happens. Um, but I don't see any other path that we're on right now. The legislative branch, the majority of the legislative branch, has bent the knee and
Hmm.
has submitted to Donald Trump's will, regardless of their so-called oath themselves to the Constitution. And the Supreme Court has also done the same. The majority rule of the Supreme Court is also the same. So when you have a country that does not effectively have three equal branches of government to carry out checks and balances, and you've got a federal government that is issuing orders in a manner of superseding the Constitution, then at that point, I believe the federal government does not have the power to supersede state law, as has been our fundamental principle and law in our country, that federal government supersedes state government. But this isn't the first time in history we've had to deal with this. We've gone through this before,
Yeah.
both home and abroad. And someone put up a meme the other day that really, I think it was that Mr. Cluck account or something like that, Cluck Hut or something. I'm
Hmm.
mutuals with them, and I can't remember their name, but put up a screenshot that said, for all the people, or it said, stop saying that we're cooked. I want to remind everybody that our country has never once lost to fascism. In the history of our country, we have never once lost to fascism. And for a lot of people that keep on saying we're cooked, we're done, we're so screwed, it's over. I say as long as there's air in my lungs, it's not over. As long as I have the ability to mentally, to vocally, and to quite literally physically fight back, it's not over. And this big government overreach, they understand this. That's why they're
Hmm.
really, if they had won already, they wouldn't need to be paying AI chatbot accounts to try to influence the general public narrative. They
Yeah.
wouldn't need AI chatbots to go out and spread talking points and bullshit conspiracy theories and shit like that, because they've already won and we're not able to fight back. So nothing is
Hmm.
over. We're still here. And I will proudly say, as a trained and proficient 2A owner, they may take me out one day. Not before, in the words of Wyatt Earp, I drop 10 to 15 of you first.
No, and I think, there's always hope, but kind of I think we might have talked about this last time we did a live, but authoritarians like to keep the workers down, to keep the working class people down as a way to make them so stressed out that they don't pay attention to the news, to what's going on.
Right.
And that's exactly what is happening right now. And so I do think that the fascism that we're living through, it can't last because eventually enough people will be fed up with it. Enough people will wake up that they will push back.
Yep.
And
You're
um,
100% on point, and
mhm,
that's one of the things that they underestimate too. Is that yes, by design, people are hurting and can't afford to feed their families and can't take time off to go and protest and stuff like that. But the one thing that these rich elite people, these corrupt, just insane people,
mhm,
fail to recognize is that when someone has nothing left to lose, that's when they become really dangerous. And you get enough people across our country that feel so held down, and
mhm,
they feel they've got nothing left to lose. You're going to see a lot more people doing a lot more than wearing,
mhm,
peaceful, funny, comical, and harmless chicken suit outfits in front of ICE buildings. You're going to see people taking matter in their own hands and actually following the letter of the law in various states' self-defense laws. Um, and I will say for the thousandth or millionth time, um, because I absolutely believe in good Samaritan laws and self-defense laws across your states. Actual use of them, not weaponized to say, oh, they're coming straight at me just because you're a racist asshole that can't evolve in this world. But actual self-defense laws. And I will repeat again, this is the point for the millionth time. Act always in defensive measures, never offensive. Okay, the laws may not be in your favor, especially if you're within the marginalized community or you're of different ethnicity than my alabaster ass. Um, but you know what? You can argue that shit in court later. And I know it's not an equal system, and that's something I desperately want to work on fixing within our government, because the term all persons within our Constitution has been so watered down over the years.
Mm.
Um, and the treatment of women and the treatment of the Latin population, Latino and Latina population, the treatment of the Black population has been so abhorrent and so vile. And there's such little to no consequence about it, especially in the law enforcement sector. But not only in the law enforcement sector, in the judicial sector too. You hear
Yeah.
stories of judges all the time that are convicted for something down the line, um, whether it be stuff with child stuff online, stuff like that. And my very first thought, I'm glad that they're caught and locked up, but my very first thought is, what happened to every single individual case that they tried before that? They like
Hmm.
threw them away because it was a black man, or threw them away because it was a Hispanic man or woman. Um, I think we need a law in the books that says, nationally, that if a judge is found uh, guilty of something, then every single one of his cases needs to be reviewed, and if found to be improperly carried out and properly sentenced, then those cases need to be overturned immediately, because it is a violation of all persons within the Constitution. I think we have gone into this level in our Constitution of those that specifically want to manipulate it for power for their own good, that they have watered down, and they've played this semantics game of interpreting and misinterpreting on purpose.
Hmm.
And I think we really need to get back to being constitutionalists and having mandatory scheduled debates on introducing amendments to the Constitution to adapt and continue on with the evolution of our country. Because every other country in the world with their own Constitution creates amendments for them like every 5 years. We haven't had an amendment in our Constitution since fucking before I was born, I think.
Hmm.
So, yeah, there's definitely things that our country needs for its not just growth and accomplishment, but also to set in stone a checks and balances system, so shit that's happening today is never able to ever happen again. We need long-term things, that it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what political party or what political power is in power. We need long-term things that are basically party neutral, that
Hmm.
are country specific.
Yeah, and because I don't think people feel like the government is accountable to them, and they would be right. You know, especially like we were talking about before with money and politics. Representatives collaborate with each other, but why should they listen to their voters? I mean,
Right.
once the election's done, especially if they're in a secure seat. But there was something I was going to say,
I
and
think
now
there needs
I
to be mandatory town halls as
yeah.
well. Not
Oh,
not not
mhm.
not an option. There, if you're
Yeah,
an incumbent, there has to be a mandatory town hall,
yeah.
or you're like essentially suspended from the next session of Congress or some
Mm.
shit.
No, and I do think that part of the problem with when we say that we need to change things about the system, it makes people uncomfortable because sometimes they take it personally. But you know, it's not necessarily your fault or my fault that the system is the way it is, but there is systemic racism and oppression in America. There is, you know, American colonialism, British colonialism. They've all made an effect on the world, and so it's like don't be offended by it. we just need to start doing the right thing. We need to set ourselves on a better course,
And I think that's
um,
one of the reasons
mm,
why this administration is trying so hard to erase from history the errors and problems that our country has perpetrated in the past. But you know what? You can never grow and you can never move on unless you acknowledge your own
yeah,
actions first. That's not saying that I'm personally guilty for the millions upon millions of indigenous that were wiped out by white colonists. That's not my personal guilt, but I do have. I don't want to say guilt. It's not my personal blame, is so to speak, but I do have regret over it, and I do
mhm,
bear an internal shame over it because that is my country that carried those actions out, and same thing across the world and things that we've done. So,
yeah,
but you can never, if you just erase the shit from a government website, does not stop the fact that it happened. Slavery does not change the fact that it happened.
yeah,
And the one of the problems is we've got these people in Congress that we have some very very smart individuals in Congress with zero moral character, but incredibly intelligent. But they've got such a low emotional IQ that they can't ever cop to anything. When was the last time you
yeah.
heard anyone on either side of the aisle be called out on doing something wrong and say, I was wrong? You know what?
Look
You're
at
right. I was wrong.
the Democratic Party with ICE. None of the establishment has spoken out about it because I think they're like, oh crap, we've been enabling this. I mean that my representative voted to thank ICE and for the Lake and Riley Act, which gave them the power to um, take people that were just accused of crimes rather than convicted. And it's like instead of fighting back against this narrative that no, it's the entire immigration system that's messed up,
It is.
and it's an administrative thing.
And,
Like
and, and I'll
pour
remind
that money.
everybody, there was no ICE before 9/11.
Yeah,
All we
exactly.
ever had was Customs and Border Patrol, and they did just fine a job under both parties' administrations. We've always had a bottleneck problem. We've always
Mhm.
had illegal entry problems, and those things can be made better by more judges, more processing, faster computing and
Mhm.
efficiency as far as processing, and then more technological advancements across the border to monitor it. But we never had ICE. ICE was created specifically for Middle Eastern people after
Mhm.
9/11, period.
Yeah.
And now it's specifically for all brown people, specifically Hispanic, South and Central American people.
Mhm.
But ICE was created for Middle Eastern people after 9/11. That was the great Middle Eastern threat, all the Islamophobia and all that shit that was spreading about. I mean, shit, I heard an interview, somebody, I can't remember who it was, but it was some MAGA guy on the street that was being interviewed, and
Mhm.
it's 2025, and he said that, yeah, we need to get rid of all the Muslims in our country because they all do Sharia law, and it's like, what the fuck? And then he actually literally said that Muslims in New York. There's no-go zones in New York City because they carry, or in New York because they carry out Sharia law. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? But literally, what are you even
Yeah.
talking about? Do you have any idea what you're talking
They
about?
they weaponize the fact that unfortunately, I think as Americans, a lot of us maybe we're taught American history, and a lot of us don't grow up learning about the rest of the world, and so then it's weaponized. I mean,
Education is definitely a thing, but I think
mhm,
that's also a little bit of a cop out saying that our education system has failed us because, quite honestly, our education system has always been shite.
mhm, that's
It's
fair.
always been, it's always comparatively to the rest of the world. Our education
Like
system
Europe, yeah.
has always been dead last,
Hmm.
and it was never like it is today. Well,
Hmm.
I can't say it was never like it is today. I mean, look through civil rights movement and all that,
Hmm.
but um, it's we absolutely need a better education system. But I think one of the things that's really pushing us over the edge in a lot of violent ways and illegal ways is
Social media.
we have no checks, no regulation on malicious influence campaigns on social media.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, I've said this a million times. We desperately need a human authentication act for social media companies. That is not infringing upon the First Amendment freedom of speech. If you're a human being, you can say whatever the fuck you want. But AI chatbots do not get constitutional rights. There are no freedom of speech rights for AI chatbots. So why are we allowing all of this misinformation and disinformation to influence actual human beings?
Yeah.
You know, they're real, and we saw it with COVID. With the majority of the million plus Americans we lost were in fact anti-vax. They were not vaccinated. They lost their lives. Never needed to lose their lives if they
Yeah.
had just not been constantly fed all that bullshit about ivermectin this, ivermectin that, and all this other bullshit. Um, we saw it with the 2020 election, the big lie, the election was stolen, all that other shit. I mean,
Hmm.
our social media, uh, and I count it all as social media now. Even things like YouTube, it's all social media now. Um, it has been so overly saturated with malicious influence campaigns.
Yeah.
Um,
Even just the comment sections, you know, a lot of those
well,
are bots. Yeah.
a lot of the comment section that
Hmm.
pushes that shit
Hmm.
because you get one of these malicious paid Benny Johnson people,
Hmm.
paid with Russian crypto to Tenet Media and then third way laundered out to Benny Johnson and TPUSA and whatever else. um, they've got their freedom of speech. They're allowed to what I consider to be traitors to the United States, aiding and abetting a
Hmm.
known adversary across seas. But they're allowed to say whatever bullshit they want. But then you go to their comments and you see them flooded with AI chatbots
Hmm.
reinforcing that narrative, like, "Oh yeah, I heard that too," or "Oh yeah, yeah, that's definitely big news right now." Blah blah blah, and they're not human beings. And the
Hmm.
problem with that is you have actual human beings that are reading those comments,
Yep.
and where they're listening to someone like Benny Johnson spew his lies and bullshit. There's still an ounce of them taking it with a grain of salt, and it's for entertainment purposes. But
Hmm.
then they read through those comments and they see these comments reinforcing that bullshit that someone like Benny Johnson is spewing, and they're now solidified in their thought processes that this is indeed a true statement, even though it's not.
There's a
So,
really good book called How to Stand Up to a Dictator by Maria Ressa.
mhm,
And she talks about how in the Philippines, they weaponized Facebook
yeah,
and with the comment section. And she found that lies travel 6 times as fast as the truth on the internet.
right,
And the problem with, like, if they printed an erroneous article and then they printed a retraction, almost no people see the retraction. They see
right.
the correction. And so, I mean,
We're
and I
seeing
do
that in our
think,
legacy media today. We're
yeah,
seeing
and
them run
mhm,
something and then do a retraction, and no one
yeah.
sees the retraction. So,
And so it's hard because I think, like, you and I probably know that the things that do well on our social media are things that make people angry. You know, even and it's just ideally something that's the truth, but it's hard, you know, and the constant suppression. If
you know,
we, I know you've gotten your TikTok taken down.
yeah, my main account did get banned for inciting civil unrest, which was bullshit since I didn't have any community guideline violations, nor strikes, nor even account ban warning. And then only after the fifth appeal on email, they cited that your account will remain permanently banned due to going against our policy on inciting civil unrest,
Mhm.
which is bullshit. But yeah, the thing is that what the hell was I just talking about? What were you just saying right before that?
Social media
So social media and I just
and
completely
getting censored.
yeah. Oh, the retraction and taking it
Yeah,
down,
the retraction
things like
thing.
that,
Yeah, yeah.
or being angry. That's what it was. I will yeah. That's safe. My
Hmm.
OCD just did that full circle right there. Being angry posts do better than hopeful posts. I will say
Hmm.
the good news is um, my message of hope are actually being boosted more.
That's good.
Um, I don't know if they're being boosted more, or people are just more are more hungry for it.
Hmm.
But hey, believe me, I've been doing this for, but even before I was a congressional candidate, where I was just making content for 5 6 years. And I remember saying back in California, I was like, man, I really enjoy making posts, positivity posts, and hopeful posts, motivational posts. I hate the fact that my angry posts go
Hmm.
viral and all
Yeah.
my hopeful, positive just never get seen because it sucks being in that mindset 24
Hmm.
7 of just always being angry.
Hmm.
So I am actually glad that it sucks that it takes for things to get so bad for people to be hungrier for hope and
For
positivity.
good news. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can only hear we've got breaking news from Aaron Parnas so many fucking times in a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
No,
now
exactly.
now he's doing the we've got breaking news on shit that isn't even breaking news. It's like,
Mm-mm, yeah.
hey, we've got some breaking news. This might happen. It's like,
Come on,
huh?
Aaron.
How is that
Yeah.
breaking news, dude?
Oh God.
So, I mean, I appreciate people working for the shit, but it's also being in this like content creation game has
Yeah.
also really opened my eyes to people that are real, like yourself, and people that are. It's night and day how they actually are in real life
Hmm.
compared to this little box that we all get to see. Um, I much rather prefer people that are the same on screen and off screen
Yeah.
than
No,
people that
exactly.
are that play a character somewhere else. Um, and the people are hungry for that shit too. They want. I think they're really hungry for it as representatives of Congress. They want someone that's genuine and authentic, not just looking for a soundbite like these politicians are doing this shutdown in front of, you know, Mike Johnson or in front of whoever else right now. It's like, I mean, yeah, people are glad to see their Democrat incumbents like fighting the good fight, but
Hmm.
you know what? Fight a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Fucking
No, exactly.
fight a little bit harder. And why are we even here where we are today when um, 11 months ago, 10 months ago, not a single one of you said, "Hey, you know what? God damn it, we demand a hand recount because this election seems fishy as fuck."
Yeah.
Not a
No, I
single
mean,
one of them.
how many Democrats have even raised the alarm and said, "Hey, you should be worried." My incumbent, not once. And I do think you and I, I know we haven't been talking about being candidates much, but one thing that Graham Plattner said today in our meeting was, this is the start of a movement in America that might take several elections, and we have to keep going. Some of us will win this time. Some of us, it might take a second cycle, but I think like that pro peace, anti billionaire message, um, it
I
will
tell you
push
what, if
through.
I don't win my election, I'm going to set up basically an encampment and I'll crowdfund to be in DC to make those representatives' lives a living hell. I will record them. I will record them every
Yeah.
second of every day at every little steakhouse dinner or when they take their Cabo trips to Mexico. Um, I am on a mission to call out the corruption that is
Yeah.
rampant in our country right now, why everyday Americans are hurting. And
One.
the thing is, we will never be able to make substantial legislative change for the people until this goddamn corruption is called out.
Yeah.
Um,
And I know a lot of progressives that are running throughout the country that are, some are in open races, some of them are challenging Democrats, and none of them are getting help from the establishment.
of
They
course not.
don't like anti-corporate, anti-APAC candidates. And So it will. I mean, we're essentially running just like you as independents. You know, it's just in Illinois, it takes me 16,000 signatures to get on the ballot as an independent, and only
Yeah.
1,000 as a Democrat. You
No,
know,
no, it's
but
the same thing here. It's
oh
actually,
wow.
I actually think it takes no signatures in North Carolina if I were to run as a Dem.
Hmm.
But I need 8,600 signatures. I think I've got a little ways to go.
Hmm.
But I'm doing great and getting a lot of support out here.
Good.
Uh, One of the reasons is, especially from registered Republicans, that will not vote. If Virginia Fox wasn't on the ballot and it was only a Dem, they still wouldn't vote for the Dem.
Yeah,
That's how polarized it is.
just because they grew up a
The
Republican, and
only
yeah.
reason Virginia Fox wins is because she's got that R next to her name. But every single Republican out here cannot stand Virginia Fox. And they
Hmm.
are desperate for a candidate option that is not a Democrat. Um, and bonus to their lives, I'm actually going to try to make their lives better instead of someone like Virginia Fox that
Hmm.
doesn't do a goddamn thing. Um, I don't care if they're a registered Republican; they're an American.
Hmm.
And we have this. Trump has normalized this, because he hates the leftists or the liberals or the Democrats or anyone that is anti-Trump. Um, he doesn't see it as his constitutional duty to help those Americans, which is
Yeah.
so anti-American and anti-patriotic of a president of the United States to take a stance on. I don't give a shit if he doesn't like whoever doesn't like him. It is his job, it is his duty
Yep.
to help those Americans. And the problem is with his normalization of that is that we've got people like Virginia Fox, or we've got the Republican in your district. We've got people like
Hmm.
Jim Jordan or Mike Johnson that are taking on this mentality that they only care, their constituents, they only care about the registered Republicans. They don't give a damn about anyone that is not for them. This loyalty fealty, which is so antithetical to our democracy and to freedom. Uh,
Hmm.
so anyway, yeah, this is like I said, it's going to get worse before it gets better. I'm going to start making posts on DIY preparedness for either evacuation to get to safety if you've got family and you're able to relocate to safer areas of the country or north or south of the border. But
Yeah.
if you're not, I'm going to start posting about things that I've got prepared around my house, like go bags. I've got 3 go bags and the things that I keep in my go bags, and then planning, getting your headspace right to be able to deal with the worst case scenario in in that fateful event or that fateful scenario. But and the number one thing when asked about this, I keep on talking about this, Dylan, because I keep on getting asked by this by people that are afraid.
Hmm.
The number one thing that I want to put forward, because a lot of people are saying, like, well, how do I prepare if I can't afford shit right now? I can't even afford groceries. There are so many things that you can do to get your house in order. And,
Yeah.
and planning and practicing drills on what to do if you need to do it, things of this nature that don't cost anything. So I am going to make some posts on that, but we still have to march ahead as if we will have elections. I hope to God we do. That's a valid concern of
Yeah.
everybody at the tempo that this fascist regime is going right now. So we need to keep on moving forward as if we do have a functioning democracy in the midst of a government shutdown that is not a functioning government. Um, and I just heard that one, even with the shutdown, we can't pay our troops or federal employees, but we are still funding Israel.
Oh yeah. Of
And,
course.
and we
Yeah.
did already send 20 billion to Argentina.
Mm.
And we did already spend the money for the ballroom and the renovations to the Qatari jet and $1 million per day per unit of National Guard
Mm.
in the multiple locations.
Hmm.
So we got all this money to do all this other shit and pay for Trump's golf course or golf days. But we're not going to pay our troops, and we're not going to pay our federal employees or their or the tens of millions of people on assistance programs. I wonder if Social Security checks will go out. I don't think they will with the government shutdown.
I think
If
they
it's
said that
long enough,
they would at least this month with Snap and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look for subsequent months. I mean, yeah, I think like for all the people that are asking what to do right now, kind of to close my final thoughts on that, it's a really scary time. You know, this is unprecedented to see the Texas National Guard in the streets of Chicago, you know, or even right now, I just know that they're in one of the suburbs at a reserve base. But it's an incredibly scary time. And unfortunately, peaceful protesting, um, you know, is the answer, but it does need to be, it needs to be more inconvenient. You know, it can't just be you're, you know, on a sidewalk on a Sunday when nobody's there.
right?
And sometimes it is going to elevate to that level of like civil disobedience. You know, you cannot give up your rights in advance. And sometimes you do need to send a message that this is not okay. And so I just think like we need to keep educating our friends, our family, anyone who will listen to wake up. And so sending them educational Instagram videos or TikToks, it actually does help, you know?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
it does.
because yeah, look at how public sentiment changed on Palestine by seeing all the videos of what's happening over
Right.
there. You know, and so we just need to yeah, sometimes it takes people time to get over the fence, but eventually they're going to be like, wait a minute, prices haven't gotten any better. I've lost my job. Donald Trump hasn't done any of the economic promises that he said he would. Why are we doing this?
Farms are going bankrupt. I mean, everything that Trump, that's why Trump has been pushing so hard to say he's looking, we're the hottest country right now and we're taking in trillions of dollars on tariffs. No, we're not. No, we're not taking trillions of dollars in on tariffs. Things are not good. Prices are not going down. Gas is not going
Mm-mm.
down. Everything is up, and they're taking away things that were already previously allocated and funded for the American people, while the people who don't need any assistance, the billionaires, are growing exponentially more wealthy on
Yeah.
shit they don't even need. So, like I said, it may very well get to a point where people, I don't want to incite anything, of course. I choose peace. I'm very capable of violence. I want that to be damn clear. But I choose peace. Anyone that has experienced violence
Mhm.
knows that peace is always the option first, is always the first option. Um, But when you make it so that the masses have nothing left to lose, that's when if you're rich, I'd be really scared. You do not want to be one of the haves in a land of have-nots. One of my favorite quotes from the movie Law Abiding Citizen. I wouldn't be one of the ones that has in a land of has-nots. Um, and I've already got my billionaire's mansion picked out that can easily house 250 people. So, if that fateful day comes, find me in the Appalachian Mountains, and I'll put the barbecue on for everybody. Um, I hope it doesn't get to that point, but like I said before, everyone needs to prepare.
Yeah.
Get your umbrellas ready for a rainy day, even if it doesn't rain. Okay, that's the best piece of advice I could give. And as far as Dylan was saying, as far as don't just show up when it's convenient. I know it's extremely hard because people can't afford to go out and protest. But when you do show up, one, I'm damn proud of you. You are the definition of the word patriot. And two, um, make it peaceful, but make it incredibly uncomfortable for those that are falling back or relying on the adage of just following orders. Oh, I
Yep.
made a post. I made a post the other day, Dylan, advising people should go to their party center or whatever and stock up on fart spray and stink bombs.
Hmm.
If you got a line of ICE agents that are getting in your face and pushing you back and stuff like that, and just crack a few of those stink bombs right at their feet, not on their persons. You don't want to be accused of assaulting a federal officer, right at their feet on the ground, and let that shit just permeate the skies in front of them. And I know a lot of them wear gas masks and shit like that, but a lot of them don't. They just have their stupid cowardice face covering. Make things extremely uncomfortable for them. Bring bags of glitter. Um, Someone said to preserve the pollution levels, make sure it's biodegradable glitter. So I'll say that paper confetti, shit like that. But yeah, make your voices heard. This administration is working overtime to make you feel like they've already won. So what's the point in fighting back? The second we stop pushing back, they have won. But like I said before, as long as there's air in my lungs, as long as there's air in Captain Blaha's lungs, the fight is not over and we are not cooked. We have
Yeah.
never lost to fascism. And I don't know, I'm sure I speak on behalf of Captain Blaha here as well, but uh, over my dead body will I let fascism take over our country and win.
Yes. No, exactly. I think yeah, for those, did you want to give a pub for your website, by the way? Yeah, so you can follow me and check out my campaign at dylanforillinois.com, obviously on here. I think I have my link tree on my Instagram. And then obviously David has his own website. What is it? David
It's
Clayton or
just it's just Clayton,
Clayton
CLAY.
4 NC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the number four, Clayton
Mhm.
four NC. And as an independent, I proudly endorse and support Captain Dylan Blaha. He is as real as they get. I appreciate his truth and his authenticity and his courage, especially being active duty National Guard. Um, Definitely an oath keeper. I know that term oath keeper has been weaponized by the white supremacist group, the militia group.
Mhm.
You, sir, are an actual oath keeper. So my hat's off to you.
Well, thank you, sir. No, I appreciate it. And I endorse you as well.
Oh shit!
You
Don't let the
know.
DNC hear you say that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think right now it's one of those things where neither party is doing it and we need to have a full refresh, you know?
Yeah.
There's a reason
Party,
why.
yeah, party should come
Mhm.
last.
Yeah.
The people of the country and policy should come first. Party should come last. I'm so sick
Mhm.
and tired, as most Americans are, of this whole party allegiance bullshit.
Yeah, I think, one people will say things like people over profit. Our main motto is people first, workers over billionaires, whatever we can do to just let working people know that we're running to fight for them,
Right.
and to reiterate, neither of us take APAC money, corporate money, anything like that.
So
So if you're
please
able to
donate
donate,
all
we
you can.
greatly
I
appreciate
know,
it.
and this is the worst thing timing in the world, asking for donations because people are hurting so
Hmm.
bad thanks to the coward
Yeah.
in chief. Coward in chief. That's pedo POTUS. The POTUS. I don't care. A lot of people are afraid to say that for a community guideline violation shit. I will always say it. The POTUS is a pedo. Period. Release the damn Epstein files. And for those in active duty that might be watching this, I know you call him your CIC. To me, that stands for coward in chief. Donald Trump is the biggest gutless coward to ever live. Period. So anyway,
Cool.
on
Yeah.
on that angry note, a message of hope and positivity. I greatly appreciate you, Dylan. I greatly appreciate anyone that supports our campaigns, my campaign, Dylan's campaign, and don't give up on hope. Keep hope
Yep.
alive.
No, I
As
mean,
hard as things are, we will get through this together. There is absolute truth in what I say. Stronger together, together stronger. Because they may have the guns, but we got the numbers. We got the guns too, by the way.
we'll get through this
Yeah,
together.
together. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks for your time. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining me. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. And thanks everyone for watching. Yeah.
Bye, guys.